The next thing to be aware of in keeping yourself when you are keeping yourself safe when you're online is something called internet addiction. And internet addiction, it could also be TV addiction, it could also be video game addiction. But like any addiction, if we get addicted to doing something, that means, what does that mean? What does that mean when we're addicted to doing something? When does it become an addiction? Well, it becomes an addiction when it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? But whatever it is, if you're doing something too much, if it's impacting your life, if you're sacrificing personal social relationships, if you're sacrificing personal responsibilities, job, work, school, relationships with people, your own physical health, if you start sacrificing all of that for something, then, and if you can't stop doing that thing, even at the expense of things which we consider healthy, like physical health, emotional health, social health, right? If you can't stop doing that thing in the face of that, if you're doing this thing compulsively and too much, that's a good sign that maybe there's some addiction going on. And so it's not just drugs and alcohol that people could get addicted to, but in some ways, the internet, TV, video games are a way of numbing out to our own life and turning on to this other thing and turning off the rest of our life, kind of numbing ourselves to it. And so if you go to Google and you search for internet addiction or even video game addiction or whatever, you'll find a bunch of different resources. CNN had an article about it here not too long ago. They have clinics where you could go be treated for internet addiction or video game addiction. And some of the signs, right? Some of the signs would be withdrawal symptoms. Abruptly ceasing internet activity can cause the personal, emotional, or physical distress, right? The person becomes acclimatized, requiring increasing amounts of internet time to get a buzz. Modifies the mood. So when a person goes online, they have a mood modification. Relapse. Here's some of the signs. You can read about internet addiction also on Wikipedia. And then, just signs of addiction or something that is interesting to look at, and so you can pause this video here to look at some of the signs of any type of an addiction. But if you know somebody, and I've certainly talked with people before who oh yeah, my brother just he plays Minecraft from the time he gets up until the time he goes to bed. And that's all he does all day long, and he doesn't hang out with people, or he just plays video games all day long, World of Warcraft or whatever it is, right? Grand Theft Auto 5, they just can't stop playing it. Or even in yourself, and I've certainly noticed it in myself at times, particularly when I was single, I would sometimes be like, well, maybe I'll check my email once more, or maybe I'll check Facebook yet again. Even though I just checked it a half hour ago, maybe somebody sent me a message, right? And so, if you just can't help yourself but to go check Facebook again, or, to go check your email again, yeah, there might be some compulsive behavior going on there, which you maybe want to start taking a look at, or just monitoring at least, because yeah, it might not be too harmful, right? The average American, I think, checks their iPhone 110 times a day. So just let that detonate in your head for a moment. The average American checks their iPhone 110 times a day. 110 times a day. And, back in the day when I grew up, we didn't even have answering machines. And so we would get a call once or twice a day. Now the average American is checking the device upon which they get calls 110 times a day. So it's just something to look at, monitor, and watch. And if you're not getting outdoors and getting physical exercise, if you're not taking care of your physical health, if you don't have friends, and your social life kind of sucks, then you want to think about changing your life and steps you could take to do that. So there's clinics out there to get help, but then also in the real world there's help. So at Fresno City College, we have the terribly named Psych Services, and it's actually, these are free counselors, and these are people who've studied human behavior and the mind and social relationships. And they're psychologists, and they are like the wise village gurus, the wise village elders, who can sit down with you and kind of help you figure out what are some steps you could take to sort of get friends or to stop using the internet all the time. And they're free here on campus at Fresno City College. And then in the community, in different communities, there are services like this. Or you could just look for a therapist, in Fresno, Cal, or wherever you happen to live, and check ratings, if they have ratings, to see which ones are good, and they can help you. All right, so those are some resources for dealing with video game, computer, internet addiction, and getting your life on balance, or helping somebody who you might know whose life is out of balance, helping them get it on balance. So yeah, it's good to be aware of and good to know about if you're just compulsively online too much, or you can't stop yourself from checking Facebook. Um, at a certain point, we just monitor our own behavior. Like, okay, no, I don't have to look at my phone again. I don't have to look at Facebook again. But then, if we get to a point beyond that, then we might need to get a little extra assistance from somebody in helping solve that problem. So that's internet addiction.